in a previous video I did about this particular situation, talked about how 13-year-old Karen Blake was gunned down in connection with a incident where he was looking to steal a car, and you had a resident walk outside to confront Karen Blake. He opened fire, and as a result of that, Karen Blake, 13 years old, ended up passing away. At the time, we didn't know who it was. We just knew it was a resident. The mayor and the police chief at the time gave vague details about who the perpetrator was. And now we know who that individual is. And he's 41-year-old Jason Lewis. What's up, DeLove? Salute to you, my sister. And he has been charged with second-degree murder. He ended up turning himself into the police. So we're going to WTOP.com out here in DC, where I live at. Well, I actually live south of DC, but anyway, Jason Lewis, of 41 years old, of Northeast DC, turned himself into police around 8 a.m. after authorities obtained an arrest warrant on second-degree murder while armed in the shooting death of Karen Blake. Lewis is a longtime employee of the DC Department of Parks and Recreation, appeared before DC's Superior Court judge Tuesday afternoon. Though his attorney, Lee Smith, Lewis pleaded not guilty before the judge ordered him held without bond. Now, this shooting sparked a public outcry from some of the residents and activists who called for the shooter to be publicly identified and arrested in the days and weeks after the shooting. Now, Conti, who's the police chief, he told reporters that Lewis initially told officers he only fired 2 shots, both at the team, who say he was running towards him as Lewis stood at the gate of his patio courtyard before the 4 a.m. Shooting on January 7th. Lewis told officers he went to his front courtyard of his townhome armed with a Smith & Wesson semi-automatic gun to investigate noises that he said sounded like someone trying to come into his home. So why would you go outside? That doesn't make any sense. If someone's trying to come into your home, but yet you go outside. Okay. In fact, Conti said surveillance video showed Lewis fired a shot at a Kia Sportage containing 2 people who were with Blake that night that the police chief described as the quote-unquote getaway car. It was only after the first shot that was fired that Blake, who was running towards the Kia, changed direction and began running towards Lewis, Conti said. Now, everything else that kind of unfold as a result of the initial shot that gets fired. So whether Karen knew or didn't know that was a person that was standing there with the gun, who he was running at, I think that's where things began to unravel. It was the kind of initial shot that was fired that kind of put the chain of events into place. Now, in ordering him without bond, DC's Superior Court Magistrate Judge Judith Pipe said there was no evidence Blake was armed or stepped foot on Lewis's property. And since Lewis opened fire first, the evidence indicated that he was the first aggressor. And asking the judge to release Lewis from custody before his next appearance, the defense attorney pointed out that he called the police to report the shooting and that he performed CPR before authorities arrived. He said Lewis is a father of 4 with a long-standing ties to the community and posed no danger to the public. The judge basically said that yes, he must be an upstanding citizen, and yes, he has done a lot in his life to benefit those around him. But given the circumstances of this incident, she didn't think releasing him to the home confinement could assure the safety of the community. Now, the arrest warrant laid out a detailed timeline of events mhm, leading up to this shooting, based on footage and surveillance camera and other surveillance cameras from the neighborhood. So the police chief laid out the evidence that showed Blake and two other young people in the Kia Sportage who have not yet been identified or located. Now, cameras captured the Kia Sportage, which was stolen from elsewhere in Northeast DC on the night before. It showed up in Quincy Street in DC's Brooklyn neighborhood around 3:37 a.m. on January 7th before backing into an alley. Now, two people got out the car and approached some cars with flashlights in hand, including an Audi A8. At 3:39, Lewis appeared at his courtyard gate. He told police he shouted, "Hey, what y'all doing?" At one point, surveillance video shows one of the other teens fled towards the Kia Sportage in the alley. The Kia began reversing, and cameras captured a flash consistent with the firing of a gun. So it goes back to my original point. If you're was perceiving that someone was breaking into your home, why would you go outside? That still wrecks my brain. Now, just a few seconds later, cameras captured Blake running towards the alley and then changing direction, running towards the sidewalk. Now, some of the surveillance videos cited as evidence are Blake home security cameras from the adjacent address to Lewis's home, and then they captured his actions in detail, including the moment he raised his left arm in the direction of the alley to the east of his home and fired a single gunshot. Now, after the first shot, there's a pause of about 3 seconds. Then the audio indicates there are a few more shots fired. The camera shows Lewis moving backward into the patio area as he fired the last two shots. It is unclear from the arrest warrant exactly how far Blake was away from Lewis at the time he was shot. So, of course, there's still questions out there about why it took so long to arrest uh, Mr. Lewis. Now, the police chief was responding to questions about why it took so long to bring charges to the case. He said it took time to fully investigate the shooting. He said that they wanted to be methodical and they wanted to be correct and not make any assumptions. They wanted to follow the evidence. This was somewhat of a self-defense claim that needed to be overcome, and they wanted to get to the bottom of it. Now, in the statement released after the announcement of Lewis's arrest, Ward 5 council member Zachary Parker said he continues to have questions about the handling of this case. It took almost a month to press charges, which was given few answers, allowing misinformation and speculation to spread. Community members understandably have questions about whether justice would have come swifter if Karen Blake's background and circumstances were different, or if Jason Lewis was not an employee of the DC uh, or not an employee of the District of Columbia. In addition, the Metropolitan Police Department must account for the perceived preferential treatment provided to Jason Lewis in this case. Now, at a meeting a few days after the shooting, hundreds of community members packed the nearby Turkey Thicket Recreation Center in D.C. to demand transparency into the investigation. Well, look, this is my thing. We could go into all the semantics and all the minutia, but the fact of the matter is, this guy is arrested now. He's arrested now, and why it took so long, yeah, I have questions about that. But at the end of the day, we got the desired result. Now, on my main YouTube channel, I talked about how a SWAT team went in and raided the wrong house. Not only they raided the wrong house, they end up arresting the wrong person, and they tried to cover it up. And as a result of that, the police chief is on administrative leave. But to me, not nearly enough has been done in that case. That case is done out in Galveston, Texas. So when you think about everything that's going on with these police departments and all that, right? They did the investigation. They make sure they got it right before they went in and made the arrest. And that's what I ask for when these police officers, not going in, playing the role of judge, jury, and executioner, not going around here damaging property and all that, and then you end up raiding the wrong house, getting the wrong person. Meanwhile, the real killer is still on the loose. So, exactly, Day Love. Exactly. He had opportunities to not do this, right? And in the previous video I did, I talked about how you could have brought this kid in and basically use him as a mentor. You could have mentored the kid. You could have do everything else but shoot him. That's what a lot of people missed when I did that last video. Because see, all the trolls want to come in and talk about, were you there when the incident happened? I didn't need to be there when it happened. So whether or not I was there is irrelevant. So I mean, this at the end of the day, we got the result. And I would expect it more from this guy, 41 years old. You see this 13-year-old kid that's out here going down this path that can lead him in the black hole. If he was this so-called beacon in the community, why didn't he apply that, in this case, to Karen Blake? He's got 4 children. If he was no threat to the community, if this guy was this upstanding citizen that the defense attorney is labeling as, then why not take in Karen Blake along with those other teenagers that got involved in the stealing cars, and why not mentor these kids or whatever like that instead of shooting them? You shoot first and ask questions later, right? Well, when you make those type of decisions, then I don't got no sympathy for you, bro. That's all I got to say about that. Now, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, to share these videos on your social media platforms, and I will catch y'all in another video. I thank you for watching. Right, he did. He heard a witness. He can't. Yeah, exactly. He yelled, "I'm a kid," and that man still shot him, man. But either way, I thank y'all for watching once again, and I'll catch y'all in another video. Peace.